Hi, everyone. This is Pastor Alan Hathaway. I'm glad you joined me. I want to share with you my thoughts that I'll be looking at during the months of October and November. I'm actually quite excited about this series, but I'm also excited about a series I have planned all the way through February. There's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of uh, planning and thinking through over these next few months to share with you. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the Advent series that I'm working on. And I will be sharing more about that with you in November. But this particular thing I want to talk to you about is taken out of a book by uh, Clay Jones called Immortality. And it's some thoughts that I've kind of brought up out of that book. The premise of his book comes from Hebrews chapter 2, verses 14 and 15, where it talks about those who live under the fear of death, and that the fear of death is controlled by Satan, but that Christ has defeated Satan. So we as Christians should not spend our lives fearing death, but we should be able to face immortality with a sense of confidence and direction in our lives. Clay Jones served as a associate professor at Talbot Seminary, and also which is a part of Biola University. He was in the apologetics department. He recently changed jobs, but I was interested in this whole concept of the fear of death and how people fear death in our culture and in our society. We fear the coming of death, and we have all kinds of ways we try to mitigate or change or face that in our lives. One of his other books that is quite popular is Why Does God Allow Evil? And I'd certainly encourage you to look him up. Mortality is one of the most difficult questions that we as humans face, and all of us face it. We all have an innate sense that our own deaths are somehow incongruent, that we have been made for something far better than this. It is an almost universal feeling among humans, and that death cuts short something that should continue on. And what that is, we don't know in general as people. Those of us who are Christians believe that we have found that through Jesus Christ. But there is a drive in all humans to achieve some type of immortality. Some of us ultimately end up surrendering in despair and giving up. Some of us rage against the coming night, shaking our fist at the sky or God or society or whatever, because we fear that coming night, but we deny it in a sense. Some of us build monuments to try and escape that inevitable truth in life. And some of us try to accomplish the impossible in spite of scientific reality. These bodies we inhabit are wearing down, and that's just a reality that we face. For Christians, we have found that door to immortality through Jesus Christ. It requires, of course, that we lay down our lives for him and take up his life, his resurrection in our lives. Jesus would say that we deny ourselves and pick up our cross and follow after him. So when we face immortality, it means that we must surrender ourselves to Jesus Christ, to his lordship, to his purpose, toward his direction. And in him, we do find immortality. In fact, immortality beyond our wildest imagination. On September the 10th, I'll be sharing with you a message entitled The Reality, and I'll be taking this directly from Hebrews chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. Satan holds the power of death, over a fear of death actually in our lives, but Jesus Christ has overcome both of these things in his death on the cross and what he promises us. On the 17th, I'm going to share with you, I want to live forever. And we'll be looking at 1 Samuel chapter 15, verses 10 through 12. And the thought will be, when we try to establish our own immortality, we will ultimately be disappointed. On the 24th, the message I want to share with you is called Whistling by the Graveyard. And I'll be sharing with you from Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. And my thought there will be that we have attempts at avoiding reality of mortality. If we do that, we are ultimately delusional in our lives. I'll be taking a break from the series on Sunday, October the 31st, mainly because it's the eve of All Saints' Day, and I want to talk a little bit about a theme connected with that. My message for that particular Sunday would be serving idols of our own design, and that will be Psalm 106, verses 35 through 44. I'll pick back up on November the 7th, and we'll be also celebrating Veterans Day that day, because it's proper to honor the men and women who have served our nation so faithfully. But my message that Sunday will be, what doesn't work? And I'll be talking to you from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 33 through 6. And I'll also be talking around the thought, attempts at immortality in this life are futile. And then on the 14th of November, I want to talk to you about what does work. And we'll be looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 53 through verse 58. And my thought there will be, in Jesus Christ, death was defeated, and we are given immortality when we trust in his resurrection. The final Sunday of this particular process will come on November the 21st, and that I'm reserving for Thanksgiving and for a message on that particular thought. I'll be talking to you about when Jesus is thankful for you, and that will come from Luke chapter 10, verses 17 through 21. Our thought there will be, when we come to desire God's will above everything else, and we celebrate his grace, Jesus is actually thankful for us. And that's a wonderful, wonderful truth from those particular verses. Facing our immortality is one of the most difficult things we will ever have to do. But if we do it, and we accept the lordship of Jesus Christ, we have the promise of immortality. And that is a wonderful, wonderful truth. I thank you for listening. God bless you. Look forward to sharing with you during October and November. God's blessings.